Have you ever been in an argument where the other person is getting louder, sharper, more intense? And instead of matching that energy, your throat tightens, your chest feels heavy, and suddenly your eyes are burning. Not because you're sad, not because you're weak, not because you don't care, but because your body just floods. And then comes the worst part, the embarrassment, the misunderstanding, the feeling that your emotions betrayed you. Maybe someone says, "Why are you crying? I'm not attacking you. This isn't that serious." And inside you're thinking, "I'm not trying to cry, I'm trying to talk." Or afterward, you replay the moment and think, "Why can't I just get angry like other people? Why do I shut down when I want to stand up?" If this sounds familiar, I want to start by saying something clearly. There is nothing wrong with you. It's a nervous system pattern. And today, we're going to unpack why some people cry during conflict instead of raising their voice. What's happening in your brain and body when this occurs? Why this pattern shows up most often in emotionally intelligent and sensitive people, and how to work with it so you can express yourself without shame or shutdown. Let's begin with the biggest misunderstanding. Most people assume crying during conflict means you can't handle confrontation, that you're fragile, that you're avoiding the issue, that you're losing control. But psychologically, crying during conflict often means the opposite. It means your nervous system is overwhelmed. Think of it like pressure. Some people release pressure through volume. Their voice rises, their energy expands, their anger moves outward. Other people release pressure through collapse. Their energy contracts, their body softens, their emotions spill fire versus water. Both are stress responses. And your nervous system didn't choose this randomly. It learned it. When conflict hits, your body doesn't pause to ask, "What's the healthiest way to communicate?" It asks, "Am I safe?" Depending on your history, your temperament, and your emotional wiring, your system chooses a strategy. Fight, flight, freeze. Appease. Crying during conflict is often a blend of freeze and emotional discharge. Your body is trying to bring intensity down, not escalate it. That matters, because it means your tears are not a failure of control. They're a biological attempt at balance. Let's go deeper into the mechanism. When a conversation becomes tense, your brain's threat detection system activates. This system isn't just for physical danger, it responds to emotional danger too. Tone changes, facial expressions, disapproval, criticism, feeling misunderstood. And for humans, relational threat feels real. Because for most of human history, losing connection meant losing survival. So your heart rate increases, breathing shifts, muscles tighten, stress hormones flood your bloodstream. This prepares you, but not everyone's system channels that energy outward. Instead of shouting, your throat tightens. Instead of arguing, your chest compresses. Instead of escalating, your body releases through tears because your system learned that outward anger wasn't safe. Many people who cry during conflict grew up in environments where anger led to rejection, punishment, chaos, or emotional withdrawal. So your nervous system learned. Softness keeps connection. Emotion keeps safety. Not through logic, through survival. Now as an adult, when tension rises, your body reverts to that familiar strategy. And here's something fascinating. Tears actually carry stress hormones. Crying is one of the fastest ways your body offloads emotional overload. Your body is flushing stress, which means crying during conflict isn't emotional chaos. It's emotional regulation. Just not the kind society praises because culturally, we associate power with volume. So when you cry, people assume you're losing, when in reality, you're processing. But here's where it becomes painful. People may interpret your tears as manipulation, which leaves you carrying two things at once: the emotional overload and the shame about having emotional overload. So you start thinking, why can't I stay composed? Why can't I just speak? Why do I lose my words? And here's the irony. The more you judge your tears, the stronger they become. So let's say this clearly. Crying during conflict doesn't mean you're bad at communication. It means your nervous system prioritizes safety over dominance. Such patterns can be worked with, not erased, not suppressed. Worked with people who cry during conflict are often deeply articulate when calm, thoughtful, emotionally intelligent, good with words. They know exactly what they want to say. They just can't access language under emotional stress. Because under threat, blood flow shifts away from the brain regions responsible for reasoning and speech and towards survival systems. You're not suddenly stupid, you're temporarily offline. That's why the perfect response arrives later. In the shower. In bed. 3 hours after the argument. So if you've ever thought, why can't I talk when I'm upset? That's not a personality problem. That's neurobiology. If you're someone who picks up on subtle tone shifts, micro-expressions, mood changes, emotional undercurrents, your nervous system reacts faster and more intensely to conflict because your system is tuned to relational nuance. This sensitivity makes you empathetic, attuned, deeply perceptive. But under stress, it also means your system overloads faster, like a high-resolution camera. So when emotional tension spikes, your system reaches saturation sooner and tears become the release valve, not weakness capacity. Now here's something important. Crying during conflict does not mean you're avoiding confrontation. In fact, many people who cry are trying very hard to stay engaged. The tears come because they're containing themselves, but from the outside, it can look like collapse, which leads to misunderstanding. And misunderstood patterns create shame. So the first step toward change isn't control, it's understanding. Because once you understand, you stop fighting your nervous system. Now let's talk about what actually helps. Not surface-level advice. Not just toughen up. Not just stop crying. That doesn't work. So we work with the body. Before emotionally charged conversations, your nervous system benefits from starting lower. If your baseline stress is already high, conflict pushes you over the edge faster. So creating a small buffer beforehand matters. This can look like slower breathing, a short walk, cold water on your face, stretching grounding music. Not to eliminate emotion, but to widen your window of tolerance. Think of it like lowering the water level in a glass. So when emotion pours in, it doesn't overflow immediately. Another powerful shift happens when you normalize your pattern ahead of time. You might say, when I get overwhelmed, I sometimes tear up. It doesn't mean I'm shutting down. I just need a minute. That single sentence changes everything. And paradoxically, it often reduces the likelihood of crying, because safety reduces stress. When tears start rising, most people internally panic. Oh no, not again, stop, stop. That panic accelerates the response. Instead, slowing the moment works better. Taking one steady breath. Saying, give me a second. Because regulation is authority. And slowing down allows your brain to re-engage. Sometimes speech locks up, but writing doesn't. In emotionally charged moments, shifting the communication channel can preserve clarity. That's intelligent self-regulation, that's real communication skill. Another internal shift that matters deeply is how you interpret your tears. If your brain labels them as danger, your body escalates. If your brain labels them as regulation, your body settles. So when tears come, try thinking, my system is releasing stress. Not I'm failing. That framing alone can reduce the intensity. Same tears. Different meaning. Now let's talk about something deeper. Many people who cry during conflict have learned to suppress anger because they associate anger with harm. They fear hurting others, damaging relationships. So instead of anger moving outward, it collapses inward. Tears feel safer than rage. This doesn't mean you lack boundaries. It means your boundaries are internalized. You feel wronged, but your system protects the relationship first. That makes you kind, but it can also make you invisible. So part of healing this pattern is learning that anger doesn't have to be destructive. Anger can be clean. Direct, respectful. Another layer here is emotional overload. Sometimes the tears aren't about the current conversation at all. They're about accumulated stress, fatigue, burnout, unprocessed emotion, long-term pressure. Conflict becomes the final drop. That's why tears come faster when you're tired, hungry, overworked, overstimulated, emotionally stretched. when your nervous system is already taxed. It has less room to absorb emotional spikes. So supporting this pattern isn't just about communication skills. It's about nervous system care, sleep boundaries, downtime, recovery, not luxury maintenance. Now let's address something important. Crying during conflict does not make you manipulative. Tears are involuntary, not tactics. If you cry during conflict, your nervous system isn't failing. Your tears are stress release. This pattern often develops in people who are emotionally perceptive and relationally sensitive. Change doesn't come from trying to stop the tears, it comes from expanding capacity. If you want to deepen this work, you might explore a podcast on trauma-informed communication or a book on emotional intelligence and attachment styles. You could also work with a therapist trained in somatic or nervous system-based approaches. But even without external tools, you can start with one shift. When tears come, don't fight them. Let your body settle, then speak. You just need to become safer inside yourself, and that's where real communication begins.